Keiko's school is down to just Jake, Nog, and a lot of empty chairs. 3 Kovarian freighter captains all want to use the same docking port, and Bashir has his plomik soup, hot, with a touch of basil. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello. With a touch of basil, huh?
Yeah, did you notice that? He said, I'll have, he says, plomik soup, hot, and with a touch of basil. What he said.
I didn't pick up on that, but I just did.
I always do.
I like this episode.
Freak. Yeah. It was a good one. Today we are reviewing Season 3, Episode 3, The House of Quark. The House of Quark. Directed by your buddy, Mr. Les Landau. Teleplay by Ronald D. Moore. Yeah. So you liked it, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was a fun episode. I always like watching Quark do his thing, and this particular one, he really got to do his thing.
Yeah. It really showcased him a lot. And before we kind of take it step by step, one of the things that I noticed I wanted to make sure to mention is something Star Trek is good at is when they'll create an episode that's like an O'Brien-centric episode or a Quark-centric episode where they have to go on a different planet, like when O'Brien was captured by the Cardassians recently, the Cardis. And there's always that point where we go, it's going to be a boring episode because it's just O'Brien and a bunch of Cardis, or it's just Quark and the Klingons. But Star Trek always finds a way to sneak in one or two more of the main characters in there to make it more interesting. Like when O'Brien was captured by the Cardassians, they were able to bring in Odo as his, lawyer or whatever. And then they also brought in Keiko a little bit. In this case, when Quark is over with the Klingons, they still brought in Rom. So now he has somebody to confide in and talk to. And that's a really good screenwriting tool for us because it's hard for us to watch an episode that's just one character we know. We want more than that. And they're really good at bringing in a second or third character.
Yeah, and also keeping ongoing relationships, they keep feeding these relationships, which is great. This one, they did a little bit of the interplay between Sisko and Quark, and there was just a lot of interplay, and I like the relationships that are being developed. But this one was really good because it gets into Quark, and it shows Quark once again is such a dynamic character. He's not, one of the things that Star Trek really does a great job of is having these layered characters that have a whole lot of context to them. And Quark, is depicted as just, this money-hungry, cutthroat type of do anything to make his business run person, which he is. But then we get to see other sides of him, too, where he actually shows that he has a heart or that he's sympathetic to other people or, that he's willing to compromise his own financial security for the benefit of somebody else or something else. Sometimes with coercion, but actually usually with coercion. But still, at the end of the day, he ends up doing the right thing. So you have to give it to Quark for that.
Speaking of which, I'm wearing my special Quark's shirt in honor of a Quark-centric episode. Got this at the Star Trek Experience in Las Vegas at the Hilton. For those of you that have been there, you remember that shop. Everybody remembers this shop with the Quark shirts and the Quark shot glasses and whatever it was. Everything was overpriced. Big surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good little experience, though. Actually, that ride was cool.
Yeah, both of them.
And the gift shop / Quark's bar was really another feature that was awesome. I like how this episode starts. Rule of Acquisition 286. When Morn leaves, it's all over.
Yeah, but
and I like
But then he said that wasn't even, but then Rom says, that's not a rule of acquisition, brother. You know, he's like, well, it should be or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. But I like that one. He made up a rule of acquisition and then said, when Morn leaves, it's all over. I mean, like, that's my best customer there. He sits here and drinks no matter what's going on. But if he's done,
that was actually one of the trivioids that I had was Quark makes up a new rule of acquisition or something like that. But it didn't make the cut. Sorry to say. I know.
Yeah, then they did a little bit of cliché-ish thing. When Quark kills the Klingon, he reaches down and he grabs the blood, and you can see the blood is actually in his hands. So they wanted to put blood on his hands, and it was more of just fulfilling that metaphoric kind of like, okay, this is what he's dealing with. But I love the lines in this episode. There was a time when Quark said, I should have stuck with insurance, better hours, more money, and less scruples.
Less scruples.
I like that line as well.
Of all people, he should have no scruples, or it seems like he would have none.
But he's looking for less.
We also, by the way, had... Okay. We also, by the way, had 3 NAMs. I don't know if you noticed the 3 NAMs that we had.
Okay, so I noticed 2 of the NAMs. Actually, there were 3 NAMs that I can remember. The Jake NAM, right? The Nog NAM, and then the Molly.
Yep.
So is Molly the other one?
Perfect. Yep, exactly. That's kind of like our 3 top NAM getters right there, Jake, Nog, and Molly right there, the kids.
Yeah. So we got a little chance to do the NAMs for this one.
There was also a 4th one. There was also a 4th NAM, but I don't feel like we should count that one anymore, the Dominion. Because I'm like, that one's just going to be talked about every episode for the next 5 seasons. So I don't know if we really need to be counting that one anymore. That one and Curzon. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Curzon's been getting a lot, and you're right. We haven't actually kept track of all the Curzons, but this is the second time we mentioned a Curzon NAM.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, something that's going to keep popping up, right?
Yeah, that's why
Every time he says, I miss the old man.
That's why I feel like the Curzon NAMs and the Dominion NAMs, maybe we don't need to count those. I don't know. But I will say that Molly now has 4. Rom has 5. Keiko has 5. Jake has 5. And Nog has 7.
So Nog is leading. He's leading the NAM, the non-appearance mention category.
He's leading the pack.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
So.
Yeah, man. There's a bunch of little lines in here. I mean, when you get an episode like this, you kind of have to hold on to the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is exposed in the dialogue, and one of the things that was said was, I like Quark when he said, it's not about profit, it's about revenge. And Rom's like, it is? I just love their interplay between the two.
Yeah.
I thought it was all about profit with you. So the interplay is really good. But, one thing that I picked up on about this episode, aside from the main in-your-face story about Quark killing a Klingon and taking credit for it so he can boost his sales, there was kind of an undertone in this episode, and it dealt for me with women's issues.
Mm.
And I felt like the women's issues that were being talked about was O'Brien's household, right, with Keiko and her trying to find her identity as, she's not a housewife. she's not good at just sitting at home and, taking care of the kids and doing house stuff. She wants to have her own identity. She wants to be in the workforce, right? And so that's one issue. Just women in the workforce, women having their own identity outside of the traditional, women's roles, taking care of the house type stereotype. So I thought they addressed that in this. They also addressed it with the main story with Quark and, the
Grilka.
Kozak's wife.
Yeah, Grilka.
Widow, right? Grilka.
Mm-hmm.
And Grilka had her own woman's issue, right? She's trying to maintain her household. She's trying to hold on to her identity as a widow and, secure her family's wealth. But it was still about a woman, Now she's a widow and she's having to deal with being a single woman and facing those kinds of challenges. So I thought a lot of the storyline in this episode really was talking about traditional roles that women play and how they are outside of that and more than
that. You're absolutely right about that. That's a really good point. It really was delivered very well on both storylines, right? I mean, you've got, like you said, you've got Keiko, who's kind of like, what is she going to do? She's just going to sit around at home and rot. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. She wants to be fulfilled. She studied to be a botanist, and she doesn't want to just get thrown little breadcrumbs here or there to keep her satisfied. She wants life fulfillment. And she and every single person on the planet deserves the pursuit of happiness, right? And also with Grilka,
right.
which was kind of a different angle of, the women's struggle. With Grilka, she's basically like powerless to keep her own house. Suddenly her husband dies and she's going to lose her entire house. But she being, intelligent, strong, perseverant, I don't even know, is perseverant a word? Feels like it should be. She figures out a way. How she can keep her house, even though she shouldn't have to figure it out. It should just be hers. But she takes control. She kidnaps Quark. She brings him over. She says, "This is what you're going to do. By the way, I'm going to kiss you, and then I'm going to gag and spit and hack because you're a gross Ferengi." Or the line when she says, something for and she stops. She's like, "A Ferengi?" And she's like, "Yeah." But yeah, you're right. That's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, and Grilka also, both cultures, whether you're talking about the humanoid culture, the Star Trek, Starfleet personnel, we're still dealing with a patriarch society.
Right.
We're still dealing with a male-dominated society, and when you see it in the Klingons, you see it even more so, right? The Klingons are all macho, and it's a masculine fest, and she has to find her own voice amongst these really strong men that are super opinionated and willing to cut your head off. So I thought it was a good way to they subtly interjected this storyline about these kinds of struggles that women go through about trying to have their own identity, and the struggles that they face with, trying to break the narrative of whatever it is that is forced upon them as far as culturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it definitely does paint the Klingons in the light of, they're kind of brutes. The one dude was, passed out drunk Kozak. He falls on a knife. I did find it a little peculiar that falling on a knife pierces his armor. I mean, he's wearing battle armor that's supposed to protect him from swords and batleths, and him just dropping to the floor completely pierces that armor, kills him by piercing his organs, even though they have a double set of all organs so that they're not easily killed. That part was it didn't really work for me, but we get it. It was good for the story. It worked for the story because, now Quark is kind of almost framed in a sense. and put in this strange position. And then, as you were pointing out, Grilka then has to deal with, this patriarchal society that says, hey, you lost your husband, so therefore you can't keep your house. And some other dude that you hate is going to come take all your stuff, right? Gakor or something? What was his name?
Right. Yes.
Dagor.
Yeah. Al Dagor.
Hey, that's a good one. Al Dagor.
There you go. It took you a while. Maybe that. And,
like
there was also another line that I like Cisco said. You like that one, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm writing it down. I'm going to steal it.
Cisco
Nobody's going to know.
A really good line. When O'Brien confides into Cisco, I like that moment too. It reminded Cisco of his own, life decision of being stuck on this station and having to juggle raising a family on DS9. Mm-hmm. And he really had a lot of empathy for O'Brien and his situation with his wife. And one of the things that he says in this episode, which I really thought it was great, one of the things that, I wrote down, he said, nothing is harder than knowing the one you love is unhappy.
Right. That's a good one.
And, I thought that was a great, I love that point that he was making. And that is hard for us, when you're in love with somebody and you're sharing that common bond and you know that they're unhappy. It'll leave you unnerved and you will not feel settled. So I thought that was a great point that Cisco brought up and kind of endeared himself to O'Brien.
Yeah, you're right. That entire scene was just about happiness. They mentioned that. He also said, hey, if giving you cargo bay 21 is all it takes to make your wife happy, then of course we'll do it. That whole scene was about happiness. And then,
right.
and O'Brien says something like, so is that a yes? And Cisco says, well, it sure
right.
sounds like it. What does he say? He says, so you're saying yes? Right. He says, well, it sounds like it to
that.
me.
Yeah, and that was good. I mean, that was another little moment there between the crew that I liked to show that they care about each other, and they want to see the best for each other. It showed a little bit of sensitivity on Cisco's part, I thought.
I thought it was great, yeah.
Feel that way. Yeah. I also liked the moment, and it was a very small moment, but it was a moment where O'Brien comes to talk to Cisco and confide in him about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees that Kira and Dax are in the room. And he kind of says, I wanted to talk to Cisco, but it was private. And I like Dax's line. She's like, oh, wife problems. Like right away hits it right the nail on the head. Right?
Yeah.
And then she gives her explanation like, yeah, I've seen that face from both sides. I was the husband
right.
and that was the wife. So let's leave. Yeah, and Cisco does a really good job of banging on Kira in that moment, right?
What are we
Kira's
talking about?
I'm not going to leave. Something. Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember that.
Like, that must be a human thing or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so she didn't want to give the privacy to O'Brien and Cisco. Remember, Kira was going to sit there.
Yeah.
It was a small scene. It happened fast. So O'Brien comes. I want to talk to you, Captain, Commander, and Kira's literally going to just ignore it. The request to have a private conversation and just keep sitting there. And the way that Cisco tells Kira, like, I need you to get the hell out of here right now because we're going to be talking. It was a nice little moment of like flexing his authority.
Yeah, go scan something. go find something to do. I gotta help this poor guy.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about it on your way to the wherever you gotta go right
now? Yeah. Now we've got about a minute left in this this first segment here. Yeah. I mean, I did notice. I wasn't sure if we were going to see Molly or if she was just going to be mentioned, but we didn't end up seeing her. I guess she's just always sleeping in her room every time. Every time Chief O'Brien comes home, I guess she's just always sleeping, right? I don't know, but we sure didn't see her.
Yeah, she's either sleeping at her friend's house.
Yeah. Oh, what is it that Molly likes the Petersons better than she likes her own parents? Remember that episode?
Yeah, exactly.
That must be it. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do the trivioids that didn't make the cut, and we will finish this review, and we will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
A little bit of technical difficulties earlier, but the connection's much better right now. I hope you guys are still with us because Cirroc and I were talking about that just now on the break, how like I would say a joke and he would laugh like 4 seconds later, or he'd tell a joke and I would laugh 4 seconds later. Our laughter, it's rare that we can make each other laugh, so we need that positive feedback. We don't want to wait for it.
Yeah, it doesn't work good on a 7-second delay.
We're like on sports or something, or a CNN interview. So anyway, so the trivioids that did not make the cutting room floor. Here they come, fast and furious. Quark makes up a rule of acquisition. Got that one, covered that one. Chief is sad that 3 covariant freighter captains all want to use the same docking port. He said that one for the most part. All that's left in Keiko's school are Jake, Nog, and a lot of empty chairs. That's a NAM for empty chairs, by the way. Kissing Quark makes Grilka spit and hack and gag and make a funny face. Cargo Bay 21 is ideal for an arboretum. The ODN conduits in Cargo Bay 21 are shot, and the security systems never worked anyway. I don't know why that was a fun line. That's what Sisko says to
It's funny, when he said the security systems never worked anyway, I thought it was a dig on Chief O'Brien. Like, isn't he in charge of making sure?
Maybe.
I thought it was a slight, it was like, yeah, you never fixed it anyway, so
you might as well just take that piece of crap off our hands.
Yeah, turn it to a garden or something.
Last two, Quark wants to look at some, quote, filthy ledgers. And last one is Bashir has his plomeek soup hot. Oh, and with a touch of basil.
Awesome. Bashir,
basil.
Yeah. Those were some good ones.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there, like going back to the lines in this thing. There was another one where he says, I think you just mentioned it now on these ones that made the cutting floor, but she says we are Klingons. We don't dirty ourselves by digging around for some filthy financial records, right?
Yeah.
And I like that line. It was just like, yeah, we're too good for that, or that's outside of our zone.
Lots of great lines, like when I think she's Grilka slaps Quark and divorces him just like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you gotta warn me next time or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she kisses him and she goes, kapla, and he goes,
Yeah.
I want to know how that was written on the page. I want to know because I just put MHHMHMHAAA, but I want to know how they wrote it out.
And the other thing that I really like, this is my favorite line from the episode, where, what's her name again?
Grilka. When
Grilka and Quark are having that moment together, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it and step up to the plate, and she says to him, I'm grateful for all you've done. That's why I'm going to give you a chance to remove your hand from my thigh.
Yes.
And it was just the best line.
And she says, rather than breaking every bone in your body.
Right.
And I could just hear the Grand Negus going, oh, how did that get there? How did that?
My hand? Was that my hand?
No, that was one of the best lines for sure.
And it reminded me of another line. I think Kira said the same thing to Quark at one point, right? If you don't get your hand off my thigh.
She said it to the Grand Negus, I think, on that turbo lift or something.
Okay, yes.
Right.
So it's like almost a recycle of just, Ferengi touchy-feely hands.
They like thighs, I guess. They
go
hands
for the
gravitate to them.
Yes. The other line that I thought was great was when Grilka. Yeah, I was not an easy one. Grilka.
That character will be back too.
Yeah, when Grilka says to him, she's like, she's cussing out Quark, and he says sticks and stones, and whatever, I don't care. And then she says to him, she's like, you're nothing but a piece of latinum, a small piece of something.
Yeah.
She called out his small piece of latinum.
Oh, his strip of latinum. So, here's an easy way to remember Grilka. Her middle name is Lamari. Grilka Lamari.
Oh God! I almost wrote down Lamari. Thanks a lot.
No, we should just forget that one. Let's not ever write that down or talk about this again.
No, please don't do that to me.
Lamari.
Oh gosh. Where does Keldar come from? Is that his mom's name?
His dad, I believe. Yeah, his dad is son of Keldar. That was what I wanted to say though. At that moment when Odo is talking to Quark, and remember Quark is still making up his lies about how he killed the Klingon, and Odo's like, I'm not buying it. And Quark says, don't worry, Constable. I won't be dispatching any more customers today. And Odo says, thank you for keeping my mind at ease, but I'm not here to protect the customers from your violent temper.
Yeah, I like that one. And he also kicked him out and said, make some room for some paying customers again.
There was a great look that usually we like to highlight lines, but sometimes someone just makes a great look, and Bashir did it. When Quark was telling Bashir and Odo what happened to the Klingon, he's like, so I fought him and I stabbed him, whatever. Bashir gave this great look of like, what do you, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was both Bashir and Odo in that shot.
Right, you got it.
Kind of like, yeah, right, I don't believe anything he's saying. But I also enjoyed how Quark, he's acting already, right? Armin Shimmerman is playing Quark, so we already know he is acting just by being Quark in general.
Yeah.
But then he goes into Quark acting, right? When he goes into and then he ran up on me, and he starts doing this whole, right?
Yeah.
He goes to this whole thing in front of everybody at the bar so that he can make himself look legendary. And it just dawned on me that he's acting, pretending to be acting, which is like, it's like a paradox, right?
I'm the dude dressed as another dude, pretending to be another dude.
Yeah, I'm the dude playing the dude dressed. Yeah. That was Tropic Thunder, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, with Jack Black and what's his
Robert
name?
Downey
Iron Man.
Jr.
Yeah.
Robert Downey, yeah. But I want to say, though, aside from the fact that they really did a good job of conveying, the women's issues and different things that women go through trying to hold down a household, right? Trying to be the woman of the house. On top of doing a good job of showing that, I thought they really did a good job of showing Quark as a courageous, kind of honorable person in this moment. He had he took the high road. which I thought was great because he was ready to get the hell out of there. He tells Rom, it's none of my business. I don't care. Who cares if she keeps her house or not, right? I don't care. Let's get out of here. And then you can see they cut right from there to Quark walking in and showing up for the duel and actually doing the courageous kind of honorable thing.
Yeah, and Rom was trying to kind of nudge him in that direction when he's just kind of like, oh yeah, what do we care if this poor lady's life is going to be ruined and her whole family, right? We don't care about that,
right, brother? Right, brother?
Yeah, the Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers, yeah.
But eventually, apparently, it worked. And that's why it's so great that they brought Rom in to kind of be his conscience, to kind of have that extra character in there. I was glad to see him show up in that that part.
And that's another thing that we saw in this episode. We saw for the first time, I think, Rom actually have a true respect for his brother outside of money, right? He usually, he takes his orders because he wants to keep his job. And this time he's like, tell me that story again, brother. I want to hear it. And then, of course, Quark says, okay, I'll tell it to you, but I'm taking this out of your paycheck.
Time pay, yeah.
So, I mean, I just like the way Quark is showing us to be a very dynamic character. There was a couple episodes before this. It took a little nudging, but when they were dealing with the Dominion, and Sisko had to bring the Negus' staff to convince Quark to come along and join him to negotiate with the border, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even in that moment, you saw that Quark is playing this vital role in negotiating and, doing stuff that's outside of his purview as a just businessman, as a shop owner. He doesn't really have to be doing any of these extra things. But he is showing to me, they even said in the episode, a brave Ferengi. Who would have thought it possible? And I like that. I like that Quark is kind of different.
But Ferengi are brave in business ventures. They're bold. They're willing
in negotiating. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But certainly not. They're certainly not going to be brave for certain things. Like they'll be brave to make money, but they're not going to be brave to help somebody. They're like, why would I? Where's the profit in that?
Right.
Yes, that's kind of an interesting little thing to realize is when they say Ferengi aren't brave or Ferengi are, they say even for a Ferengi or stuff like that, Ferengi just have a different set of priorities and principles. So they do have bravery. They do have their own kind of nobility, but theirs just follows the rule of acquisition,
Yeah. And, there was a line where Grilka was talking about Dagor.
And see, I told you that middle name would help you remember her name.
Yeah. So Grilka was saying, Quark was explaining that he was cooking the books and manipulating the, invoices to basically rob her of her life savings, right? And she says something to the effect, you mean Dagor was scheming and plotting like a...
Yeah, that's what... Yeah, that was
right? And she started to say it, and Quark finished her sentence for her, like a Ferengi. Like, you can say it, it's all right.
Yeah. And he wasn't ashamed about it. He was almost like, yeah, like a Ferengi,
Yeah, see what happens if you let us do our thing. You'll be broke with no home. So we're pretty efficient in what we do. And then, Bashir gave a little bit of advice to O'Brien when he sat down with him and he asked him about the Arboretum. Arboretum. He says a smile will last you 2 hours. Flowers will last you 1 week.
2 weeks, I think he said. Yeah.
2 weeks, right?
No, I think it was 1 week. You might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. He's like, a smile, that'll last you about 2 hours. Flowers, that'll get you a week. And I figure an Arboretum will get you 2 months.
Yeah, and then that's when Chief should have said, yeah, but what do you know? We haven't seen you with the girl yet. You're striking out all the time. So how do you know? Would you read that in a book? I read about it. Leave me alone.
This is how you deal with women. That's what I read.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was another little moment between the two of them.
That was a fun gym. I actually thought that the way they handled the Keiko situation was really good. I found myself really liking that a lot, that they're treating her like how humans are in real life. Like we want purpose, we want fulfillment. And just because she would do the sacrifice of just being on Deep Space Nine for Chief O'Brien's career, she would do it. But that doesn't mean that there isn't something that could be done that would make her even happier in that life. And that is, the Arboretum was a great idea. It's, as it showed, it's not really enough. It made her happier. It would give her something to do, or as they pointed out, it's really just a hobby. You know, more than anything, it would just make her, a little happy, and it would be the thought that counts. But the fact is, it's not quite enough. And then he's got this 6-week or 6-month excursion in Bajor. And I don't know, it made me happy to know that they're tackling like real life issues. Like, just because they're 300 years in the future and they're all space people and they're fighting lizard people and stuff, they're still humans, they're still people, they still have hopes and dreams, they still have simple fulfillment wishes. And I really liked the solution that they came up with. I thought it was good writing. I thought it felt very real and human, and I was really happy with it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, O'Brien is really the only character that is married on the show, right? Like, he actually has a wife,
right,
to go home to.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that play in between a husband and wife, the unspoken thing, and he was picking up on the unspoken. And I think that it was great. They introduced one scene in there where O'Brien is basically cooking dinner for them, and he says, it's an Irish holiday.
Yeah.
We celebrate having the best wife in the universe. And it was just it reminded me of a kind of a typical husband and wife relationship, right? You see your wife's down, you want to cheer her up, you cook dinner, you make up some reason why you're celebrating.
It's called The Lie, but go on.
It's called A Lie. But it's usually when you've done something wrong, you're trying to get out of the hole, trying to get out of the doghouse. But this is a proactive one. This is, he was really empathizing with his wife, and he was like, she needs to find her own place in her own space where she's comfortable and happy. And that's the kind of thoughtfulness that Star Trek puts into each character, Is
right.
that person happy? Is that person fulfilled? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing as far as their destiny or their, what their skill sets are?
Yeah, they still want it to be realistic. They still don't want just, laser beams and aliens and interesting, morals of the stories and things like that. They still want like real characters, and that's just always something that's so important in Star Trek, is making sure that the characters feel real and act real, and that we can identify with them, even though it's 400 years in the future and there are Vorta and changelings around them. They're still, we can still identify with them very much so.
The other thing I noticed, and this is completely just like out of left field, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. When Quark was wearing that cape that they make that looked like it was made out of animal fur, it reminded me of the Game of Thrones wardrobe, right? Don't they wear a lot of animal fur type long capes?
Mm-hmm.
So it just brought that into my head out of nowhere.
We should have asked Sid about that. We should have been like, dude, so do you think Game of Thrones totally copied the Klingons on Star Trek or what? I'd say, my word.
What color is that? Basil?
Hey, so we've got a few minutes here. I did want to bring up a character we haven't mentioned yet, which is Gowron. this was Gowron's very first appearance in Deep Space Nine. And when we saw him, it only hit me then. I was like, oh yeah, we haven't seen this guy yet. We see him previously in a few episodes of Next Generation, but this is only his very first one in Deep Space Nine. And he has, the fun line where he says, the House of Kozak is gone. For the time being, it will be known as the House of... And then Quark says, Quark. And he goes, Quark? Quark. Oh, the House of Quark. Yeah. But, it was nice to see Gowron again, It was nice to see big boogly eyes. We missed him. Good to see him.
I did. I enjoyed watching him, too. He's always... the thing about these character actors, you're wearing all that makeup, you're wearing all that stuff, and now you have to find a way to shine, with like 50 pounds of weight on you.
Yeah.
And you only really get your eyes and the sound of your voice. Those are the tools that you have to perform with, right? And Gowron, he's got these powerful eyes, where he can stare you down and strike fear into you. And he has the voice, the voice. So, if you have those things going for you, if you have the strong eye play and a good, strong voice, then you can really play the entire gamut of aliens out there.
Yeah. He's got the strong eye game, strong voice game. And he's not really a tall guy. Yeah. Usually Klingons are super big actors. He seems like he's like, 5'9" or something like that. So he definitely got that role off of merit, off of acting, prowess and doing something different, doing something interesting, more so than he did out of, obvious physical stature.
Right. Right. And that's where we have, when you pair that with the other great character actors that we have on the show, especially Armin, who, is just fantastic at Quark, because he knows how to play the delicate, small little emotions in there, and he throws in so many things. He's also flamboyant and audacious, and he wants everybody to see him, and he's just a really good character actor.
Yeah.
And this show is full of it.
Yeah, so we covered Martok and Kozak, was that guy? Dagor. We'll be seeing Grilka again at least once. I can think of at least one episode that I remember her coming back for. She was played well by Mary Kay Adams. Let's check real quick. I'm trying to think if she's in more than one more episode. Nope, just the two. Okay.
So she will be coming back.
Yeah, but only one more episode. I wasn't sure if she had more than the one. I only remembered the one. But yeah, it's just the one. But beyond that, for the most part, Kira and Dax kind of had an easy week, right? You had an easy week? You got mentioned?
Yeah, I got to mention. Sisko had an easy week, actually, on this episode. It wasn't too much for him.
A lot of people.
And then, the last thing I'm going to mention before we close out was that the divorce, which was the slap and the spit. And I thought that was a nice little touch there, too.
And right just preceding that, when Grilka says to Koch, she says, how can I ever repay you? And he says, I would like a divorce. No offense.
Exactly.
Well, since you're asking, I would like a divorce.
To not be married to you.
To a Klingon that keeps beating me up.
He keeps slapping me around the room and telling me where I got to be.
Yeah. Also, Quark said something at the end to Rom, I believe. He says, respect is good. The platinum is better. And I was like, okay, how is that not a rule of acquisition? I was waiting for Rom to say, rule of acquisition 211. But they didn't, they left it alone. I'm like, is that just one that sounds like a rule of acquisition, but we're all just going to pretend like it's not? It sounds like one.
Yeah, and I think Quark earned his respect in this episode.
Yeah, but Latinum's better.
But Latinum is better.
So before we go, I want to do something at the end here. I think this is a fun little game for us. It's called Jake Sisko Guesses the IMDb Rating. Just imagine there's like things. Jake Sisko predicts the IMDb rating. What do you think the IMDb rating was for this episode?
7.8.
Close. I believe it was an 8.1. People like this one. This is definitely an above average Deep Space Nine episode, according to the fans.
That was pretty close.
Yeah.
I liked it too. I mean, it was, like I said, I accidentally watched the episode after this one.
I was about to say no spoilers about next week's Equilibrium.
I won't make any spoilers.
Like 8.5, 9.5, right up in there, right?
Yeah, I definitely say lower than whatever we just said. But yeah, this was a great episode. I mean, it kept me entertained, and you can watch a Quark episode and not be laughing and having. Right. It was great.
I liked it a lot. I didn't remember it completely, but it was better than I remember it, so I was happy about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Les Landau directed it. Great job, Les. Ronald D.
Yeah,
Moore
I think the
wrote
fans
it.
got it right. I would say it was a solid 8 in my book as well.
Mm-hmm. Good one. Also, before we go, quick shout out to our associate producers, Yvette Blackmon, Rex A. Wood, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, and Marie Segal, Rob Hoffman, and Carmen Shamwell. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
For our Trek Text, Kat R. King, and Heather Jordan. For Mr. Russ Hasledge. For the coolest guy in the sky, Mr. Aron Eisenberg. That's the one. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Oh, man, Equilibrium. Cirroc, you're going to love it.
I'm looking forward to it. I've already started prepping.
All right, everybody. Thank you all very much. And always remember the 7th rule. Oh, and stay tuned for the free-for-all, by the way. We got some great questions. People are going to love the questions that
I think it's going to be a big hit.
No bombing. It's just going to be like, oh, boy, I can't wait. Stay tuned. Always remember the 7th rule.
Good.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton. This is the free-for-all. We've got Kat R. King, Homer Frizzell, Rex Wood, Carmen Shamwell, Heather Jordan, Melissa Longo, and Anne-Marie Segal. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay.
Doing all right.
Awesome. So we were talking right before we hit record about all kinds of stuff, but first and foremost, Heather, you've got a cool little mask that you can show us, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you show us?
Now, I know that Anne-Marie's probably going to say that this is not, going to protect anybody. It's not medical grade, but yeah. But, I've been making masks. This is like a galaxy print. I just made this, just because we do have restrictions here where we live that you have to wear a mask at the store. So this is a reusable, better than the disposable, fits better, more comfortable. So, I've just been making them. And then, of course, Melissa's got them on her shop now, too.
Oh, really?
So.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, she had one pattern, I think. I don't know how many she had on there.
3 patterns.
Oh, okay. Didn't you have a doggy one? Am I wrong about that? There was like a dog,
There's
dog pattern?
Yeah.
Oh, paw print. That's what it was.
Yeah. I had made a paw print mask for my mother-in-law, and there was some interest expressed in having people being able to purchase them. And so I ran out of the fabric, so I've been making the paw prints on fabric. Stamp.
Oh,
She's
speaking of which, this is more of a winter joke, but do you guys know how you can find Will Smith hiding in the sun?
Oh my God.
I mean, wait, now I'm going to say that again. Pretend like I'm not sleeping. How do you find Will Smith? I'm just going to delete that out. How do you find Will Smith hiding in the snow?
Oh, the snow.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, you look for the Fresh Prince.
I knew that.
I hope you got that out of your system.
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Great, thanks.
Is this thing
He's
on?
going to be here all night, guys. Try the fish.
Yeah.
So, well, because you said Puppy Prince, I don't know, and then I said Walking on the Sun, like a Smash Mouth song. I don't know what's happening anymore. But let's get this thing on track. We've got a really cool.
A little in the juice today.
Let me tell you, I got this ginger peach LaCroix, and it's beating me up right now. But let's
sponsor yet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We need that sponsor. Sponsored by LaCroix.
Sponsored by JJ Lindell, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So actually, before we get to our question, check out Homer's awesome shirt, you guys. Tell us about it, please.
Yes. So I was fortunate enough to go on the cruise before everything got shut down. And Kenneth Mitchell had a rave, I'm calling it a rave, where he also crowd surfed. And they were handing out some of these T-shirts. And it's the House of Core. So I'm going to just turn around here. I think you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really nice shirt.
So I love it.
Yeah,
and I thought it appropriate for House of Quark.
Perfect, which is our episode today.
There you go.
So that being said, who is or what is your favorite Klingon house? Let's start with Heather.
Oh, you can't ask me these questions. I don't know. Like, I don't really have a favorite house. I mean, I'm going to have to say the House of Core. That's my favorite right there.
Good answer. Good answer. What about you, Melissa?
Martok.
Nice.
Oh, of course.
That's actually mine, yeah, so I don't have to answer. Yeah. What about you, Marie Segal? Now, wait, hang on, I'm sorry. Melissa, is it House of Martok pre-Worf or post-Worf?
Post-Worf.
All right. What about you, Anne-Marie?
I mean, obviously it's House of Grilka.
Is it Grilka?
I want to be a part of any house that has Quark as a member. So.
Well, they got a divorce though.
That's why I said House of Grilka.
So it's post-Quark.
Quark. Sometimes he hangs out with them.
Carmen, do you happen to have a favorite Klingon house?
No, but I tell you what's not my favorite, the House of Duras. I hate all like Lursa and B'Etor are great characters, but the entire House of Duras is a bunch of bitches.
Love it.
Understood. They're just
no. Like in every iteration, I think except for aside the original series, there's a bitch in the House of Duras. There's a bitch in Enterprise. There's the I think it's the original Duras in Enterprise. Yeah. And TNG, of course, DS9. There's always some Duras family member causing problems. I can't stand them. And I could talk about it for a really long time, but let's go to the next person.
She's heated about that. She's got some ideas.
Yeah, so you don't really have much of an opinion on that, I guess. No, but what about in Generations, where they had like that classic scene where they're looking through Geordi's visor and they're like, "Ew, human females are hideous."
But you know what was
best
even
scenes ever.
You know what was an even better moment was when
they got blown up.
"We are cloaking! Our shields are down!" And Riker goes, "Fire." And you just see Lursa and B'Etor just like, "Well, we're done." Yeah. Good moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, they're great female characters, but that whole house is just one dishonorable thing after another. I can't, no.
She's like, they represent the worst of all females everywhere, is what she's going at there.
I don't know. I thought they're kind of cool.
As really strong characters, I like Lursa and B'Etor, but it was just a family name. It's just like, do you just have to be dishonorable all the time?
Yeah.
So.
Rex A. Wood, I feel like we can morph this question. Do you have a favorite house or a least favorite house?
I have to go back to the original series. The only good Klingon is a dead Klingon.
Oh,
This free-for-all is dark.
Dead Klingon.
Today is a good day to
die. Let them die.
What about Worf? You think Worf is a...
Yeah, I'll give Worf a little bit.
I like House of Moog.
Yeah, I'll give Worf a little bit in there.
House of Rozhenko.
Like half house.
I love House of Rozhenko. That's a good one.
Homer Frizzell, Commander, do you have a favorite or least favorite house?
Well, I don't have to cover the least favorite. I think that was covered fairly extensively. But I have to echo what Melissa said. And House of Martok, also when they took Worf on board, and Jadzia later on, and then Ezri. So House of Martok.
Yeah, it's got all our people in it.
Cinderella is okay.
What about you, Kat? R. King?
Klingons are.
Yeah, right. I would say I was gonna say the Martok initially, but low key, it's really Duras.
Nice.
Ooh, debate time.
Nice.
Debate time.
Two blocks away.
No, I love Martok. That's post, with War.
No love for Gowron yet, huh?
All the love for Gowron's eyes. That's all I gotta say.
Cirroc, do you have a favorite house, or do you want to pass on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass. I mean,
the House of Sisko.
I do like Martok, though. I think he's a fantastic guy.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say I didn't realize that I had gotten a Klingon divorce until I watched this House of Quark episode.
Oh, no.
It made me realize that I have been divorced several times.
Oh. Whoops.
Okay.
So this all gets me going to the next question, because it made me do a little quick research about the House of Gowron. In fact, does anybody know, without checking, how many episodes Gowron appeared in Star Trek?
Nope. Not without checking.
Any approximations?
23.
36.
42. Hut.
I would have said 10 to 15.
Can I get 100? Can I get 100?
It's under 15.
Yeah.
I feel like it might also be under 10.
Yeah, I mean, trying to decide.
But more than 2.
Well, half the
Yes.
We narrowed it down. We're narrowing it down.
See, because I thought...
I'm going to vote 7.
I see 12. Yeah, 12 sounds like a good number.
This is all Star Trek, right?
Yeah, all Star Trek, all series combined.
I can't remember how many he was in TNG, but I know he's there with Picard.
That's a really low number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like one of those people who you think is in way more than he is. He's such a huge
that was the case
character.
for me. Yeah,
I actually looked it up a few months ago because I had the same thought.
It turns out it was 4 episodes in Next Generation, I think, and 7 in Deep Space Nine, so 11 total.
Okay. Wow!
I thought it was more like 15 or maybe
so 10's
20.
a pretty good guess.
Yeah,
a good guess then.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're all great guesses except for Rex is like 42 or whatever he said.
Come on, Rex.
I didn't care.
1 million. Secretly in every episode.
You're not winning Price is Right.
Sorry.
I thought Anne Marie would have the answer for sure.
So did I. Written down somewhere.
No, but I did learn something really interesting about Klingons today when I was reading Memory Alpha about this episode. This is apparently the last time they're on Kronos until Enterprise.
Really?
I would have thought, for some reason, I thought they went back in Deep Space Nine, but guess not.
What's up, Yvette? Welcome.
Oh, beautiful background.
Can you hear us, Yvette? Yeah.
They got to Kronos awfully fast.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
We're talking about Klingon houses. Would you happen to have a favorite or least favorite Klingon house on the spot?
Moog.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
Yay!
Good one.
He deserves to be remembered.
Isn't Kronos from something real?
Oh, here we go.
Anyway,
word Kronos.
Have to watch Brand.
Kronos is from, I think it's Roman or Greek mythology, and it was the original
Yeah.
father dude.
Father of Time.
Yeah.
He was like a Titan or something.
Yep.
Oh, that too. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Totally different spelling.
Is it?
Yep. Because Kronos is just like chronometer, so CHR. Whereas, well, actually, maybe you want to talk about this. Like Kronos, I think the planet has been spelled 3 or 4 different ways, but the way I see it is a Q, U, and apostrophe something going on.
Oh, I thought it was a K.
They've spelled it K in
That
the
may be too.
subtitles for.
Like I thought initially in like TNG it was KR, and then they changed it to QO. But
Q apostrophe O.
Yeah.
So there are different spellings. I think it's all based on a regional dialect of Klingon, to be honest.
Good head.
It depends on who they have transcribing the episodes, whereabouts they are from Kronos.
Well, because they have to go more difficult once they start getting a Discovery. They can't just be simple Klingons anymore. So, not only do they have to make them weird, giant-headed aliens, but they got to spell Kronos different. So,
actually, there was a really interview with maybe Ken Mitchell will know more about this, but with Marie Segal too, where they were saying how they had like dialogue coaches when they were learning their lines for Discovery to make sure that the accents all of them used reflected like what region of Kronos they were from. Like that's how they got. I know.
Jeez, that's
in depth.
I know, it kind of like blew my mind. Yeah.
Yes.
I read somewhere that the first person who said a Klingon line was the one who determined how it was pronounced.
So that's for like everything every word in Star Trek. That's the rule.
Here's a question I just thought of while you guys were buying me plenty of time.
Yep, lots of time.
Thanks, guys.
Kronos for you.
Of all of the Star Trek actors, be it series regulars or one-offs, who do you think would make the best Ferengi outside of actors that had already played a Ferengi? We're going to start with Marie Segal, since we want to put her on the spot.
So difficult. I would say Dr. Phlox would be a fun.
Great. Good one. John Billingsley. This is the quietest I've ever seen you guys.
I'm trying to think of somebody who just had that Ferengi vibe.
Walter Coding. Walter.
Oh,
Walter.
That's a fun one.
Yes,
for me.
You're right. That's a great one.
That's such a good one.
Yep.
Wow.
Right. Probably the right height, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're right.
No.
It's a great one.
I was going to go with Ethan Phillips too, Melissa, but then I thought, well, I guess he
did play
Ferengi.
Yeah, he's already been.
He was under disguise.
He did play a Ferengi though.
When he pretended to be like the Grand Negus's assistant or whatever.
So Yvette, our question now is: which Star Trek actor that never portrayed a Ferengi do you think would portray a Ferengi well? I'll give you a second to think about that, and we'll jump over to Melissa. Do you have an answer?
Oh, I said Ethan Phillips, but I had no idea that he.
I remember that now.
So,
wasn't Ethan Phillips also a Ferengi in Next Generation when they?
I thought he. I just remember seeing him as a Ferengi. I'm just positive that he was a Ferengi. I thought it was in Next Generation.
He was a Ferengi on Enterprise as well.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it was.
I only remember because we just watched the episode like a week ago.
Yeah.
So.
He's like the doctor who tries to take control of Mrs. Troy's mind to learn how Betazoid can read people's minds in TND.
Right.
Super cute.
Carmen, do you have a favorite?
Nah.
Boy, oh boy. I'm asking the worst questions today.
I was gonna say Walter Keane. He's sort of got the right stature for it, but that was taken. So yeah, aside from him, I'm going through side characters in my brain now. And yeah, I can't be trying to go through.
I was thinking maybe Nana might be able to pull it off.
She'd be a fun one.
Nana Visitor. I think she could do it.
A bit tall, but
she is tall, but she could definitely slink. She could do the. I don't know. I could see her doing it.
Fosse movements, and Ferengi like to do a lot of those Bob Fosse Like,
I mean, it would be fun for sure.
I think Marina's got the height to be able to, and she's gotten sassier as she's gotten older, so she could definitely pull off a sassy Ferengi female.
Moogie.
Who doesn't want to be naked. But, yeah.
Yeah, new Moogie.
Yeah.
What about you, Heather? Do you have...
I'm going to go off the beaten path. I'm going to say Will Wheaton.
Yeah, that's way off that path there.
Way off.
All the good answers are taken. You know, like, I'm thinking Will Wheaton could kind of play, like, a little bit of Nog's father. Oh, geez, I cannot. Rom. I think he could pull off a little bit of the Rom feel, where he's like a lower, he's not the alpha.
You can do it.
He's kind of like the beta in that situation. Like, so I'm kind of feeling that, but you know, I think it'd be funny to see Will Wheaton try to be a Ferengi. You know, see if he could pull it off.
You'd give him a little messed up hair, you know, like his morning hair. Yeah. Well, no, but they could give it to him. Just give him some of that messed up hair he does, you know.
What about you, Homer? Do you have somebody in mind?
I do have someone in mind.
Oh, I can't wait. Save us.
Yeah, I don't know if this is saving anything, but what came to mind, I mean, yes, some of the other ones have been said, but of course I have to try to do something else except for when it came to House of Martok. So I'm going to say Dominic Keating.
Okay. Would he have his British accent still?
Yes. He's from a different area of Ferenginar.
He's from Ferengana.
Ferengana.
No.
Ferengana. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What about you, Kat? Anybody come to mind?
Bob Picardo.
I thought about him.
I don't think he did play one. I knew Ethan had played Ferengi, right? I think Bob would be great, but you know, I never thought of the height thing. So I was like, oh, I'd love to see Doug Jones play a Ferengi. Come on, why not? But if you're gonna stick to height, I think Bob would make a great.
Yeah. It is true about the tall Ferengi thing. If you ever went to the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas before it closed, there were, you know, when you went into Quark's bar, there were people that were dressed as like Borg or as Ferengi or as Andorians, right? And there was always this Ferengi guy, and he was super tall. I mean, like for a Ferengi, he was like 6'2" maybe or something like that. And you could tell that he was used to everybody making the comment, because the second you'd say, you're a little tall for a Ferengi, aren't you? He'd always respond right away and say, you've obviously never been to Ferenginar. So implying that I guess there are some tall Ferengi somewhere.
They used to have the Great America Park in California when it was Paramount's Great America. There was a whole section, and there were Romulan actors and there were Ferengi actors.
Right, and our buddy Rico played a Klingon there.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Where was that part?
That was up in Santa Clara and San Jose. It's still
the area.
Still there?
I think they closed it years ago. I don't know.
What about you, Cirroc? Do you have anybody that comes to mind? Star Trek actor you'd like to see play a Ferengi?
Yeah, it would be Garrett. See Garrett.
Might be interesting.
I think he can.
Yeah.
I think he can pull off
fit right in.
Ferengi thing.
What about Sid?
Mine game.
I thought about Sid too. I think everybody would have fun trying, at least. That's for sure.
Yeah. He passed you in Ferengi. He's short enough. I'm short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
Ryan, you got one? You got an answer?
Oh yeah, I thought I did give an answer, didn't I? Oh yeah, I said Nana. Although she doesn't quite have the stature for it, I think she would. I think she is good at, kind of like leaving herself behind and like completely getting lost into a character, like the Intendant. You know what I mean? Like totally a different type of character, and I feel like she could just completely lose herself and get into the role of a Ferengi and be transform herself into something we've never seen. I think she could do it. We haven't seen her play that kind of character, but I think she could. I think it'd be fun to watch her at least try. I think my favorite answer was Walter, though. Honestly, I think that's a good one.
You could play it with the Russian accent too. He comes from a whole nother part of Ferengi.
Oh no.
They got British Ferengi, Russian Ferengi.
That's right.
It's interesting.
They're Irish Ferengi.
Oh no, you're gonna get me on.
Actually, I'd like to see Column as a Ferengi.
Oh God!
Oh my
God!
That's amazing answer. He was spending all those hours in the makeup chair.
I could just see him complaining about everything. Me hands! Look at me hands!
Look at me hands.
Just waiting for the.
Wow.
So we got a couple minutes left, but I do want to point out Melissa's awesome shirt again. It seems like you got a different color of the same.
She does
every week.
She have a couple colors.
Nice. I like that.
And where can we find that?
On my new website.
Which is
walkingartmadebymelissa.com.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
It's grassroots still and much more to come, but yeah, it's up, running.
Well, it's Walking Art Made by Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Just writing
I'm
that
waiting
down.
for my shirt still to come in. There's a delay with shipping though, so yeah, I'm waiting for it to come in.
Yeah,
hopefully soon.
Your shirt's ready.
Yvette, by the way, where are you?
I'm sitting outside my house because everyone is in the house doing video chats, getting ready. My youngest daughter's getting ready for the APs next week, so
nice.
She's
how are they
taking
doing
over.
that?
She's got she's everywhere.
Are they
so
still
I can't
taking
do
the
anything
tests like for the APs? Because like when I was doing them, I took 2 AP classes, and you have to go to like this proctored exam. Like, are they still doing that?
This is a new world. Everything's done at home and timed. So she has 4 of them, and she will be timed. I think it's Monday and Tuesday. So we had to do a practice thing in the house. She's got to be in some place where it's quiet. Make sure the dog doesn't go in. It's a thing.
Oh, they never allowed that when I was like, they were so strict about like you couldn't even bring in your own calculator because
they couldn't bring a calculator.
Go nowhere.
You couldn't bring in anything.
What do they cost?
They have a camera. You have to utilize the camera on your. Yeah, they're watching. Yeah. Wow. They're watching. That's why you got to make sure the dog doesn't go in, because that means you move your head. So you cannot move your head.
The dog might have the answers.
Well,
written on his collar.
The camera says if you move your head, then they ding you, or that somebody will come in and say you got to stop the test, because you have to keep your eyes on the paper.
Yep.
It's the only way they could do it.
Yep.
Man, like that's really tough, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sitting there taking a test, like I'm looking and thinking and kind of like,
Well, don't do that.
Searching around for answers.
No thinking.
On the ceiling.
Right.
Nope.
There's no thinking in these tests. It's just remember
actually,
what they told you and write it down.
Actually, if you know enough about Zoom, because my company uses it, it actually can grade your alertness during something. So it will actually grade your alertness to know whether you're going over to a keyboard or you're doing something else during it. Absolutely. So that means on our show, it's probably
Ryan, don't ever use that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's make it pact that neither one of us will use that on each other on our show. Okay,
especially on this episode.
Zero.
Yeah, I remember I took an AP test one time and I wasn't finished with the test, and I asked for a bathroom break. And actually, I went up to my biology teacher at the time, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he started. He's like, "Oh, is that the kind of questions they're asking?" "Oh, great, because this and that." And then he said, "Wait a minute, aren't you still in the test?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention that." Thanks for the heads up.
See, my school had us leave the campus to take our AP. We had to go to, I want to say it was like maybe even on a college campus, but we had to go, and like it was like this big room, and they were, very careful about walking in. You had to like, sign in, and your 2 pencils. I think that's all you could bring in.
Yeah, no calculators, no anything. Yeah.
So before we go, who's got the dog and who's got the birds?
Ooh.
I'm hearing a dog and I'm hearing
probably all me. The dog is going crazy back there. There's birds. I'm just I got kicked out of the house. So yeah, it's a lot going on.
I'm hiding.
I've only got
in a
this
room
one
in my
bird
house.
over here.
Uh-oh, don't do it, Cirroc.
no,
Don't
no,
do
no,
it.
no,
Don't do it.
Two birds. Stop matching birds.
No, that was two birds with one stoner.
Right.
You gotta do like Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, the best part of the whole movie is that right there.
So anyway, I guess we better go. I think we've all learned something today.
Absolutely.
We'll.
Really?
I've learned to prepare better questions. That was my fault. You guys all looked at me like, I really have to. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But we'll do better next time.
These
pop quizzes need to stop.
Here's a question. A question before everybody gets off.
All right.
What's having for dinner? Because meals are super monotonous for a lot of people lately. So 5 seconds or less. What's everybody having?
We just ate. We had salmon.
Cat's got a Lunchable or something.
Cold cuts.
Oh shit!
Okay.
She's got the full. She was ready for this question. This is like
Cheetos right here.
What about you, Rex? 5 seconds or less. Here we go.
I really probably don't know yet because the wife isn't home and she usually cooks. So she'll tell me when she gets home.
Carmen, what about you?
We're having pasta with grilled chicken and kale and mozzarella and Parmesan.
Way too much
I'm going to
pasta
her
being eaten at my house.
What about you, Heather?
This is the first time we are having pasta. I literally I found a box in the back of the cabinet that's been there for maybe a year. We have not had pasta in so long, so we're excited.
I think I'm actually going to run to the store after this before it closes and probably pick up a few things. I'll probably just grab like a salad if they have any, like a pre-made one.
Got it. What about you, Cirroc?
We don't have any dinner plans.
Oranges?
No, my oranges are already done that. I'm probably going to do nachos tonight.
Oh.
Well, be careful because those are nachos.
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 Melissa, go ahead.
Sorry,
Nacho
Homer.
cheese.
Sorry, you had to hear that.
I don't know. I haven't planned that far ahead yet.
Sorry. It's 6 o'clock. Right? It's 6. It's almost 6 where I am.
And Marie?
Well, first I always follow Melissa's dinners like very carefully because she always takes the best pictures of them.
She does.
So I live vicariously through her. I don't know, probably like barbecue something in a crock pot and then hobnobs for dessert because I'm a big
hobnobs. I don't even know what that is.
That's a question for another time.
What about you, Yvette?
I cooked already. We have salmon.
Ooh, I love salmon.
And I think there's some. We've been grilling eggplant. Grilled some eggplant and grilled some salmon.
Sounds good.
I'm coming to Carmen's house and Yvette's house after this.
That's right.
We got everybody except for Homer, right? What do you got? Homer?
Where's Homer? Oh, hey, Homer.
He's muted.
Hey, homie.
He's muted.
There's no sound.
I was muted. Tonight, it's duck breast, and we'll have kale sauteed with shallots.
He's like got a Michelin star. He's like
duck breast.
Duck breast.
Yeah.
I don't even eat that for Christmas, man.
Wine.
Get that for Christmas.
Some blood wine with that. Blood wine tonight.
High grade.
Have duck about once a week.
Wow.
Buy duck breast at.
We get it at the farmer's market.
Yeah,
the farmer's market. It's open.
Yeah.
My 5-star chef is in today.
Wait, what state are you in?
I gotta come over there.
I'm in New York at the top of Manhattan.
With a reduced Marnier sauce.
So it's from Hudson Valley.
I'm gonna
balsamic glaze.
Are we having a choice of wine with that tonight?
Yes, white or red.
It's a Rioja.
White with duck, right?
And then you put a little bit of, say, a blueberry preserve on the side if you want to dip your duck into that.
Obviously.
I love dipping my ducks.
Raspberry's a little too sharp, right?
The 5-star chef is coming to his house and cooking dinner, obviously.
Shit. Guess you can't come over and eat my hot dogs.
Okay, so the goal next time.
Your gourmet sausages.
The goal next time we do
grilling the hot dogs.
Whatever.
They're.
You don't boil them, do you?
Pan fry a hot dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Better than boiled hot dogs.
Right. Yeah.
What's our goal?
So,
all right, guys, we got to run. But
what's our goal? There was a goal.
This was a better
we'll
question. We'll pick it up next week. We'll come back next week with a review of the dinners we had.
Carmen wants everybody to present their dinner.
We'll see you next time on the 7th Roll. Keep
Okay.
your ears open.